Tonight, jobs vanishing by the tens of thousands. More big companies announce massive layoffs, and pressure is building to get a stimulus plan through Congress. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, the president reverses another Bush administration policy. He takes action to force Detroit to make more fuel-efficient, less polluting cars and trucks. A high school football player collapses during practice and dies. Today, his coach pleads not guilty to homicide charges. And when cats have exhausted their 9 lives, he gives them 1 more.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. The recession is deepening, and for tens of thousands of workers today, it just turned into a downright depression. They just found out they're losing their jobs. Some of America's biggest employers announced massive cuts, eliminating close to 60,000 jobs. Anthony Mason now with more on the devastating numbers.
In a bloodbath of pink slips, Caterpillar cut the deepest, slashing 20,000 jobs, 18% of its workforce. The Peoria-based equipment company, which did $51 billion in business last year, expects to do only $40 billion this year.
We will see the slowest global economic growth in more than 60 years.
Pharmaceuticals giant Pfizer will cut 19,000 jobs as it merges with Wyeth. Sprint Nextel will cut 8,000, Home Depot 7,000. The job losses are now coming from every corner of the economy.
You know, last year they were pretty concentrated in 3 places, construction, manufacturing, and retail. Now we're seeing them almost everywhere.
The unemployment rate, now 7.2%, will continue to rise, says Standard & Poor's, and could hit 9% early next year.
That's going to be the highest we've seen since the 1982 recession. We're worried, obviously, it could be worse.
To avoid layoffs, the country's largest trucking company, Kansas-based YRC Worldwide, asked its employees to take a 10% pay cut.
We decided that really sharing the pain was probably the better option here, and I think our employees agreed.
Trucking is usually the first to see signs of a recovery, but CEO Bill Zoller says the economy's still in a ditch.
At this point, there's really no light at the end of the tunnel. Things continue to deteriorate from our perspective.
And the economy continues to lose upwards of 500,000 jobs a month. We've already lost nearly 2.5 million jobs in this recession. Katie?
But Anthony, sales of used homes, those were up, what, 6.5% in December, more than economists were expecting. So that's positive, right?
It is. There are 2 reasons. First, prices have fallen so sharply that people are actually starting to get into this market again. Secondly, nearly half of those sales were distress sales. They involved foreclosures. So, but it is very encouraging that we're beginning to see people fishing in this market again, Katie.
All right. Anthony Mason, thanks, Anthony. Meanwhile, President Obama is anxious to get Timothy Geithner to work fixing the economy. And tonight, the Senate voted to confirm him as the next Secretary of the Treasury, despite some bumps along the way. The president is pushing Congress to pass his stimulus package without delay. Chip Reed is at the White House tonight. And Chip, the president is getting ready, I understand, to make an in-person appeal.
He is, Katie. Tomorrow he travels to Capitol Hill, where he'll meet with all of the House Republicans and then all of the Senate Republicans. No Democrats are invited. He wants to get Republican input on what he needs to do to get their support for his economic stimulus plan. He says with all the bad economic news, that plan needs to be passed as urgently as possible. In the ornate East Room of the White House, President Obama ticked off half a dozen companies that have each fired thousands of workers in just the last few days.
We owe it to each of them and to every single American to act with a sense of urgency and common purpose.
But after a week of relentless focus on the economy, today he turned to another top priority, energy, reversing years of Bush administration policy with the stroke of a pen. He ordered the government to re-examine whether California and other states should be permitted to have stricter automobile emission standards to combat global warming. The Bush administration, criticized by environmentalists for ignoring the science of global warming, had rejected California's requests.
The days of Washington dragging its heels are over. My administration will not deny facts. We will be guided by them.
Mr. Obama also kick-started a process that would require cars in all states to meet higher mileage standards by 2011.
Increasing fuel efficiency in our cars and trucks is one of the most important steps that we can take to break our cycle of dependence on foreign oil.
On Capitol Hill, critics said the action could set the struggling American automobile industry back even further. But the change in course delighted the president's audience of long-suffering environmental activists. It's the latest in a series of reversals of Bush administration policies that Mr. Obama has accomplished in less than a week in office. He ordered the closing of Guantanamo Bay Prison and banned harsh interrogation tactics, gave the Pentagon marching orders on drawing down troops in Iraq and increasing troop levels in Afghanistan, instituted tough new rules on lobbying and government openness, and he reversed the ban on funding for international organizations that perform or promote abortions. Late today, Mr. Obama met with his Middle East envoy, George Mitchell, who previously investigated the use of steroids in baseball. Tonight, Mitchell leaves for the region to begin the arduous job of seeking peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
Compared to steroids, this is going to be a breeze.
In another change, it was Bush administration policy not to have any direct high-level talks with Iran. Mr. Obama said during the campaign that there would be such talks under his administration. Today, that was confirmed when UN Ambassador Susan Rice said there would be such talks. The first time the Obama administration has said there will be direct talks with Iran. Katie?
Chip Reid at the White House tonight. Thank you, Chip. And as Chip indicated, California has been leading the push for stricter admissions and mileage standards. Ben Tracy now with reaction in the Golden State to the president's move today.
In its drive to crack down on air pollution, California has waged a 4-year battle with Washington in the auto industry. Now, it just might win.
For too long, Washington has been asleep at the wheel when it comes to the environment. Now, California finally has a partner and an ally in Washington.
California has wanted permission to set the most stringent standard in the nation on tailpipe emissions to reduce pollution.
It looks like a haze, and it's a little bit hard to breathe. Makes your throat a little scratchy.
The federal government requires cars and light trucks to get at least 35 miles per gallon by 2020. California's plan would mandate 42.5 miles per gallon by the same year, cutting greenhouse gas pollution by a whopping 49% more than the federal standard would.
I think the more stringent, the better.
At least 13 other states also want to adopt California's tougher regulations. The Bush administration said meeting the California standard could cost the struggling auto industry more than $100 billion. But officials here in California say they base their plan on technology the automakers already have.
Off-the-shelf existing technologies like variable valve timing and more efficient air conditioners to put these in the new cars that will be sold in the future.
Today, the auto industry, now relying on government money to stay in business, is trying to make nice.
We want to move forward in finding a way to bridge the concerns of both the states and the federal government with this new leadership and chart out a new path forward.
And with the new president calling for decisive action on cleaning up the air, environmentalists in California are starting to breathe easier. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Los Angeles.
One more business note. Citigroup reportedly plans to offer top executives a pricey perk. The company, which got a $45 billion taxpayer bailout, is said to be moving ahead with plans to buy a $50 million corporate jet. Citigroup had no comment today, but Michigan Senator Carl Levin called on the Obama administration to block the purchase. In Illinois today, the state Senate continued what the House started, the process of removing Governor Rod Blagojevich from office. But he wasn't there to see it. Instead, Cynthia Bowers reports he was taking his case on the road and explaining himself over the airwaves.
By the time Rod Blagojevich's impeachment trial opened in Springfield,
let me make this perfectly clear. I didn't do anything wrong.
The governor was already well into his efforts to upstage it with a series of high-profile TV appearances.
It's on a wiretape. Did you say those things?
Well, I think that whatever the tapes are, they're going to come out and they'll speak for themselves.
He insists he's innocent, but the impeachment rules won't let him prove it, and he refuses to resign on principle.
For me to resign would be in many ways a way to disgrace my children. That's what they're doing in Illinois, and that's why I'm here in New York, because this is much bigger than me or Illinois.
Good morning.
When asked about those profanity-laced FBI wiretaps in which Blagojevich allegedly is heard trying to sell, among other things, Barack Obama's Senate seat, he says the full story has yet to come out.
Taking snippets of conversations out of context. Take things out of context. I think you're taking something like that out of context.
Back in Springfield, in a far more solemn setting,
The governor has failed to appear or to answer the article of impeachment, either in person or by counsel.
the governor insists there's no point.
I know the fix is in, and I'll soon join, unfortunately, the legions of others who are losing their jobs in our country.
But many believe this media blitz is not about trying to keep this job. It's about trying to keep out of jail, an attempt to influence potential jurors in advance of a criminal corruption trial that could send him to prison.
He's clearly trying to create a reasonable doubt in people's minds. It usually doesn't work with a politician who's got this much baggage, but it may be the only play he has right now.
Playing to the people, which may help explain Blagojevich's revelation that he actually considered offering Barack Obama's Senate seat to Illinois' favorite celebrity, Oprah Winfrey, who we're told said today this was the first she'd heard of it, that she would have said no, but she was amused by the whole thing. Katie?
And Cynthia, I understand the Illinois Senate expects to play some of those infamous tapes secretly recorded by federal prosecutors. So what do we expect to hear on those?
Katie, this is a really big deal because we've been waiting to hear these tapes since the governor was arrested December 9th. Now, these, we're told, will not be those infamous tapes involving the selling of Barack Obama's Senate seat. The federal prosecutor says that this case is too sensitive to release those tapes. These involve another case in which he allegedly tried to get campaign contributions for a lucrative gaming license. Now, given the fact he's not here, this will undoubtedly be the high point of the impeachment trial. Katie?
Cynthia Bowers. Cynthia, thank you. And still ahead here on the CBS Evening News, a high school football player dies during practice. Now his coach is about to be tried for homicide. But up next, a company town holds on for dear life as the company keeps downsizing. Nearly lost in the tidal wave of job cuts today is this. General Motors plans to eliminate another 2,000 of them. That is big news in Lordstown, Ohio, where hundreds of GM factory jobs are disappearing. And as Seth Doan reports, it's not just the workers who are hurting.
Just a month ago, this 5 million square foot GM plant was the heartbeat of Lordstown, Ohio, producing 1,500 cars a day and employing over 4,000 people.
It's a real odd feeling because it's dark and everything, and it kind of reminds you that, hey, this thing could close and this is what it would look like.
John Tarchik's a 31-year veteran of GM and one of the 2,800 employees asked to temporarily stay home for the month of January. They all hoped to return, but today 800 GM workers here learned they would not. On average, 30% of General Motors plants across North America will be temporarily closed in the first quarter of 2009. It's an attempt for GM to align production in facilities like this one with demand in the marketplace.
Yeah, there you go.
But aligning production means upending lives. Bobby Marsh already lost her GM job in December.
Here I am, a college graduate, knowing that, I want to be able to provide on my own.
It's tough.
Very tough. You can apply for food stamps.
It was tough enough to ask her parents for money, but now she needs government assistance too. In Ohio, 227,000 people filed new claims for unemployment benefits in 2008. That's up 35%. Now the state needs federal help to meet rising demand. And Lordstown, population 3,600, is holding on for dear life. 75% of Lordstown's tax base comes from the GM plant, according to Mayor Michael Chafee.
We're a one-horse town in that regard.
And he estimates for every one job lost at the plant, at least 2 others are needed to replace it because of the difference in pay.
It's not like I have a folder on my desk that says in case of 4,000 layoffs, open the folder, and see what comes next.
Today, John Tarchik learned he missed the layoffs by just 3 people in his department.
I guess it doesn't take a crystal ball to see that when the economy is going slow and they're not selling cars, that you can't keep producing if you're not selling them.
A business calculation much easier to compute than to cope with. Seth Doan, CBS News, Lordstown, Ohio.
In health news tonight, why parents may want to think twice about bringing a baby into their bed. A government report out today shows an alarming increase in the number of babies who die from suffocation. In most cases, when a parent rolls over a child in bed. In 1984, 103 infants died in the U.S. from suffocation or strangulation. In 1996, 149, but in 2004, there were 513 deaths. Experts say babies should sleep alone on a flat mattress with no loose pillows or blankets. Coming up next, a father speaks out. He lost his son on the football field. Now he wants the coach tried as a criminal. In Louisville today, a high school football coach pleaded not guilty to reckless homicide in the death of a player who collapsed during a hot weather practice. It's believed to be the first time a high school coach has faced charges in a player's death. Here's Jeff Glor.
From the football field to the courtroom, Jason Stinson is accused of pushing his players so hard that last August, one of them collapsed.
Is he breathing?
Yes, he's breathing. Yeah, he's kind of going in and out on us, so.
Is he completely awake?
He keeps going, yeah, he's awake. We're trying to get him open his eyes right now.
3 days later, 15-year-old sophomore lineman Max Gilpin died.
This is about an adult human being who had training, who was responsible for the health and welfare of a child.
A death that Max's father says the coach could have prevented if the coach had been paying attention and if he'd been providing mandatory water breaks.
I don't believe that he thinks he did anything wrong.
The controversial homicide charge has sparked rallies in Louisville.
We want Stinson!
In support of Stinson.
One thing people seem to forget in this whole situation is I lost one of my boys out there that day.
And by now, a broader national debate over how hard practices should be. The most publicized case was Corey Stringer, the former Minnesota Vikings offensive tackle who died in 2001. In the past 13 years, a University of North Carolina study says 39 athletes have suffered heat-related deaths, 29 high school players.
They don't want to go to the coach and say, I'm not feeling well, because they're afraid the coach is going to say they're a slacker.
Gilpin's father says that's the problem.
You know, they're 6'2", 6'3", 200 and something pounds. They're still kids. And they're trying so hard that they will literally die for you if not watched.
Tragedies are not always somebody's fault, and it was not Jason Stinson's fault.
Does Coach Stinson feel he did anything wrong?
No, it's just, he doesn't, there's nothing that he did that caused Max Gilpin's death.
For now, Stinson's been reassigned inside the school district, pending the outcome of his trial, which could send him to prison for up to 5 years. Jeff Glor, CBS News, Louisville, Kentucky.
At the Supreme Court today, a big victory for workers' rights. The court ruled you cannot be fired for cooperating with an investigation of discrimination in the workplace. The unanimous decision overturns a lower court ruling which said the law protected only the worker who filed the discrimination complaint. Coming up next, he's using the fortune he made with a mouse to give a cat a better life. With so many stories about corporate greed and corruption, we're happy to end tonight with something completely different. Richard Schlesinger tells us about a man who made a fortune in business and now uses it in a very unusual way.
We're getting some opinion as to whether he needs surgery or not.
It took Jonathan Rosenberg 51 years and one wildly successful .com career to find his true calling.
It's this world that's so much more satisfying.
Ready? Rosenberg gave up computers for cats.
There we go.
Somewhere around 100 cats at this swanky cat sanctuary he built in New Jersey. He's loved cats for years.
Here's my boy.
And he put his money where his heart is.
Roughly how much of your money have you spent on this project?
Somewhere north of $2 million.
The sanctuary is named for one of the great loves of his life, Tabby, his cat of 15 years, who died in 1999.
Buttons is a nutcase.
Rosenberg never met a cat he didn't like, and some of these are tough to love, like Jackie.
She'll act very friendly, and you'll get about 5 or 10 seconds petting her, and then she'll go after you.
All the cats here come from shelters and were scheduled to be euthanized. Not all of them are troubled, but a lot are.
I know.
Mozart has what is politely called urinary issues. Tashi's back legs don't work, and he gets physical therapy.
Yeah, it's my boy.
And Star is actually allergic to people.
I've heard the other way around.
Well, human dander.
Obviously, it can be hard to find homes for some of these cats, but it can be done. About 550 cats have been adopted from here, 100 to 150 of them so-called special needs cases. But all of them will live out their lives here if they're not adopted, with medical care and love.
My heart really goes out to the cats like these that I shouldn't say no one else wants, but for the most part, no one else wants or cares about.
And while caring for the cats, Jonathan and his wife Sharon have been touched by humans.
It's okay.
They could take a young cat, but instead they're willing to take this cat with heart disease or this diabetic and care for it, knowing it's going to break their hearts.
It never hurts to be reminded. Animals with some of the worst problems can bring out the best in people.
The classic pepper position.
Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Ringo's, New Jersey.
And that is the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.